Hi everyone, my name is Kristen and welcome to my channel where we explore an experiential approach to manifestation, or as I like to refer to it, the law of reflection. So this video is a guided practice that is following on from one of my previous videos, which is called Why You Don't Need to Change Yourself Concept. Now, if you haven't watched that video already, go ahead and do so. I've already linked it in the description box below. In the previous video, I explained that you don't actually need to do anything to change your self-concept. You don't need to build it up bigger or better or heal it in order to manifest. You only need to realize that it isn't who you truly are and to simply let it go. So in this video, I'm going to guide you on exactly how to do that. So get your journal ready or a piece of paper, or you can also just type it on your computer, as there's going to be a written exercise at the beginning just to bring the old self back into your awareness, and then we will work through it together. So the first step of letting go is becoming fully aware of the old self, because a lot of the time we are so enmeshed with it that we don't notice when it is running in the background. So we want to become familiar with this old self as it arises so that we can catch it in the moment before it goes into the full embodiment of it. And when we catch it as it arises, this gives us some space to ground ourselves in our true identity as the observer or awareness or God, whatever word you wish to use. And from there, we can actually align with the desired state. Now, it does take some practice, so go easy on yourself, because in the beginning, if the identification with the old self is strong, it may take a few tries in order to be able to catch it in the moment. A lot of the time it does go unnoticed. So please don't stress yourself out with this or beat yourself up over it. Even if you do react from the old self, realize that this is okay. Just use this as an opportunity to become even more aware and familiar with that old self. And next time you will be able to catch it quicker. So, firstly, let's become really familiar with the old self. Now, this part of the exercise is not something you will need to do every time, but for the purpose of this video, I want you to really bring that old self up so that we can work with it. So get your journal ready, or you can type it into the computer. And I want you to ask yourself the following questions. And feel free to pause the video between each question so that you can write down the answers. But as you're writing the answer, try not to think about it too much. Just write stream of consciousness, completely unedited, whatever is coming up for you. That way you'll get the most out of this exercise. So the first question is, when you are embodying the old self, how do you perceive your current circumstances as they are right now? The circumstances related to your desire. So an example might be, I'm working a job that I currently don't like. My boss doesn't value me. I want to start my own business, but I don't know how. I'm working too many hours and I'm not paid enough. Or another example, I'm single and I would like to attract a healthy, loving relationship, but dating is really difficult. The kind of person that I want to attract is very hard to find, or maybe it doesn't even exist at all. I keep getting rejected. You get the idea. So pause the video now and just be completely honest with yourself about what this old self believes and how it perceives the reality right now. And describe the circumstances from this perspective. Feel free to go full victim mode if you need to, but just be completely honest with yourself and don't hold back. So pause the video now. Okay, next question. When you are embodying this self, what does it feel like on a day-to-day basis? Does it feel disempowered? Does it feel irritated? Does it feel fearful, bored, or impatient? And remember, this doesn't have to be emotions. So, for example, it could be that it feels like heaviness, restlessness, a sense of urgency. And just take a moment to close your eyes and connect with how this self actually feels. And give it a few minutes. Really sit with this and welcome it in. Don't rush through it and don't try to intellectualize it in the mind. Just allow whatever it is to come up. So pause the video now and write that down. How does this self feel? What does it feel like? Next question. When you connect to this self, how does it cause you to behave? So, for example, are you on dating apps searching for validation? Are you refreshing your ex's Facebook page over and over? Are you watching the same shows, binge eating tubs of ice cream to numb yourself from your feelings? Are you zoning out at work, wishing you were somewhere else? Just take a moment to pause the video and write that down. And next question, what triggers this self? What gives rise to it? It could be seeing happy couples holding hands, family gatherings, an email from your boss. Just take a few minutes to list all of the possible triggers that come to mind that ignite this self. So go ahead and pause the video while you do that. And the final question, what limiting beliefs does this self have? List them out, write them down in bullet points. So some examples could be, I'm not good enough, or good men or good women don't exist. I'm always rejected. I can't have what everyone else has, and so on. So feel free to pause and take your time and just list them all out, get them all out there. Now, before we do the next section of this exercise, I want you to pause the video again and read through everything that you've written down, but read it as if you were reading the answers of somebody that you really love, a beloved friend or somebody that you care about very deeply, somebody whose answers, whose insecurities you would never judge. And take your time to read over it, fully feel it through. Anything that wants to come up, allow it to come up, and don't rush through it. So, last time, pause the video now before we move on to the next part. Okay. So, now that you're familiar with this self, how it acts, how it feels, how it thinks, what it believes about you and the circumstances, just continue to be present with that self right now. Allow it into the room. And closing your eyes now and relaxing into the body, hold this part of yourself in unconditional love, as if it were a child or again, somebody that you really love and would never judge. And tap into this feeling of unconditional love. Just put your attention in the heart space or the heart chakra. And you can put your hand over the heart as this can help to magnify that connection. And breathe into it. Now, in the heart space, in the center of the chest, imagine that God or consciousness lives there. And as you're observing the old self and holding it in unconditional love, notice how you are not this self, but the awareness that observes it. And from this vantage point of being the observer, just accept this self for what it is. And breathe into the awareness behind these stories of self, the awareness that is always there, is always present. And remember that this is who you truly are. This is God. This is consciousness. And just sink into this realization as you watch the self. And allowing this realization, the realization that you are awareness, to become more solid. You can imagine it as a ball of energy in the heart space. And as you continue to observe the self, focus on this ball of energy in the chest and allow it to expand outwards. Let it spread across the shoulders, and down the arms, and into the hands, feeling it in the tips of your fingers. Let it rise upwards through the throat, up the neck, relaxing the jaw and the face, allowing it to reach the crown of the head. Now let it spread downwards, down from the chest and into the stomach, through the pelvis, relaxing down into the thighs, past the knees, into the lower legs, and finally into the feet, right to the tips of your toes. And feel this realization of yourself as consciousness, as a full body sensation now. And continue to observe the self from there. Noticing more and more that this self is not who you truly are, but more of an idea in consciousness, a concept, a collection of stories that makes up the dream character. An expression in consciousness, but not consciousness in its entirety. And remember that if this self was who you are, you wouldn't be able to observe it in this way. And as you realize your true identity as the observer, as God, allow your identification with the self to become smaller. And just imagine that the old self is getting smaller and quieter. And at the same time, awareness is getting bigger, louder, and stronger. And as you ground yourself in your true identity as awareness, imagine you are slowly moving the old self away from you. Make it smaller. Look at it like it's an object and slowly push it away into the distance with love. Keep pushing it further out until it becomes a tiny dot on the periphery of your imaginal vision. And when you're ready, let it go. Now return your attention to awareness, that full body sensation of the realization that you are consciousness or God, that awareness is all there is, and relaxing and breathing into that. Now, turn awareness towards your desire, the state in consciousness where your desire is already done. Doesn't have to be a clear visual, just an idea. You already know what it is. Now just observe your desire as awareness and accept it with unconditional love, without trying to do or be anything. Just notice how it feels to accept the desire as the observer. And if any feelings arise, allow them to magnify. Stay there for a few moments, anchor in that sensation. It doesn't have to be an exhilarating emotion. Whatever is present right now is perfect as it is. And just allow yourself to totally accept the desire. And relax into that for a few moments. Now, without exiting this state, open your eyes. Welcome back. Remain in it, remain grounded, remain aware that you are the observer. But as you go about the rest of your day, remain aware of this state. Again, it doesn't have to feel like a huge emotion or anything like that. It might even define words. It probably will. Most of the time it does. It just feels like an inner knowing, inner peace, calm. It should feel natural and relaxed. And when you find yourself coming out of this during the day, you can do the second half of this exercise, the meditative part, to return back to awareness. You don't need to do the journaling questions every time. And just observe this self with unconditional love. You're going inward and you're remembering that you are awareness, and then you're diverting your attention to the desired state and you're just observing it. You're not trying to make that happen. You're not trying to manifest it. You're just observing it and holding it in unconditional love. And with practice, you'll be able to do this fairly quickly. You'll be able to do it when you're going about your everyday life, when you're at work, or even when you're holding a conversation with somebody. And this is a skill, so practice it. It's like a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger the muscle gets. And over time, it will just be natural. You will do it on autopilot. It won't even feel like a big process like what we just went through. And if you were to do that every time the old self arises, eventually that old self will stop coming up because the identification with it is going to get less and less each time. So be patient with yourself because it's not an overnight fix. Don't expect that this old self will never come back just after doing it once. This is a practice, so make it part of your lifestyle. So what you're doing is you're recognizing the self as it arises, you're holding it in unconditional love, you're holding it in your awareness, and then you are shifting your attention and placing awareness back on the desire. And what will happen when you make this your practice is that the self you express as will start to change automatically on its own. It will start to transform in response to you redirecting your awareness to the desired state. It will transform in response to that. So there's nothing you need to do to fix it, heal it, change it, make it bigger, make it better, or anything like that. You don't need to do any work on it at all. You only need to shift your attention slowly in unconditional love to the desired state, and the self will transform in response to that. And if you continue to do this, and as I said, make it a practice, make it a lifestyle, go easy on yourself. If you did this every time the old self arose, you would eventually let go of that old identification and you would be allowing the self that is in alignment with the desire to flourish and you would start to embody it naturally. And because there is no resistance and you're consistently being one with your desire on a daily basis, it will manifest effortlessly, no hero's journey involved.